Welcome to Aphrodite Priestess Podcast. This week's episode is dedicated to Goddess spirituality and Shakti Tantra. Alongside my special guest and teacher, Jessica Fawn, we discuss about the simplicity of Tantra, the Goddess, and the inner beauty. These topics and this episode is very close to my heart, as Goddess spirituality is what helped me in my journey of fully coming back to myself, coming back to this body, healing my feminine and my masculine at the same time, because they do go hand in hand. And even finding the strength to start this podcast, to step up in my mission and my leadership. The goddess that I have been personally connecting for some years now is the goddess Aphrodite. Aphrodite is the goddess of fertility, of love, of beauty, of sensuality. I will be hosting a free masterclass sharing 3 simple ways that you can connect with the goddess and reactivate the goddess within. If this is something that sparks a light in you, you're more than welcome to join. I will be so happy to see you there. You can find the link with all the details down below this episode. There you can also find the links to connect with Jessica and the Temple School. I am so excited that you're here and I hope you enjoy this episode. Hello everyone and welcome to another episode on Aphrodite Priestess Podcast. I am Eleni, I am your host, and today I have a special guest, Jessica Fawn. Jessica is Tantra teacher trained in Shakti Tantra and Neon Tantra, and specialized academically in Goddess spirituality. Jessica is also the founder of the Temple School. It's an online school with daily classes that guides women back to softness. I want to welcome you, Jess. How are you?
Hello, dear Eleni. I'm really excited to have this conversation with you, to be here with you. I'm really feeling a lot softer just being together with you. I'm excited to dive in.
Yeah, I'm also excited, and I feel that I want to share a little bit of our story, how I got to gotten to know you. And actually I entered the school of Jessica, the Temple School, last year. I believe it's just exactly 1 year ago. And like a friend told me about you, and I just saw your Instagram, and then I saw you were opening the space, and it was at a point in my life where I was just looking for a space to connect with myself, with my body, and I was actually very interested in Tantra and learning more about Tantra and how I can apply it to my daily life, how it can be solved, how I can just really get in tune with my body in a way that will feel aligned with me. And that was my difficulty back then, that I couldn't resonate, although I knew what I wanted, that this was my next step, let's say. And also in spirituality, because I entered many spaces, I did many trainings, and when the spark for Tantra like lit up, and I say, okay, where do I begin? I couldn't feel aligned with most of what was out there. Not that there was something wrong, but what I was looking for, it was simplicity and simplicity, softness, and a safe space to explore that with myself, and not with directly with other people. And so I was so happy that I found it. I entered the Temple School, and then at the beginning, I was like, I couldn't believe that. I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna stay. I don't know if I'm gonna stick around. What is this? This is so simple. Just holding myself. This is it, or so, or some practices that were really like so simple and so easy for a woman to tune into, that because it's like a remembrance, right? It's not that we're doing something outside of ourselves. So I said, I'm gonna leave. And then I remember that it was at a point in my life when I was practicing the art of staying, like stay, because I didn't want to just, okay, I'm leaving with the first impulse and leaving the spaces or abandoning things. So I said, I'm gonna stay. So luckily I stayed, and I'm so glad I did, so glad I did. And it was a moment, I remember one class that I said, this is it for me, I'm gonna stay. It was this beautiful class that you guided when we were just looking at our hand and we were just meditating and seeing the beauty in the lines of our hand, just like we're witnessing the track of the tree. And it really, really touched me. And yeah, just seeing my body as nature, and that was so beautiful. And that was the moment that I decided this is the way I want to explore my body and Tantra. So yeah, I wanted to
Oh,
share that.
I love that story.
Yeah.
I love that it was that moment of, it's the simplest practice there is, literally,
Yes.
to just look at your hand and practice shifting how you see it, shifting the perspective. And I love that that was the moment where you felt like, this is how I want to connect with me, how I want to practice. And I really love that.
Yeah. And that's what I discovered slowly, that it doesn't have to be complex. It doesn't have to be something that outside of us or something that we have to look to find. It's just sometimes simpler than we think. But I wanted to ask you about you and your journey. Like, how did you enter this, your journey in Tantra and goddess spirituality specifically? Because the topic is about also the goddess spirituality that is very alive in the temple school as well. And yeah, if you want to share your journey to that.
Mm. Yeah. My journey was sparked by a deep anxiety that I was living with most of my life that made me feel really unsafe in my body and in the world. And there was this growing sense of, I need to find something to change this. That led me to yoga, practicing that. That led me to going to a women's retreat, where for the first time saw the magic of a women gathering. So that was like, wow, there's something here. That led me to practice more Tantra, which then sort of all came together in the form of Shakti Tantra, which was both women gathering and also Tantra. So it was like the perfect combination for me, because it was this safe space of just women connecting with our womanliness and our femininity. At the same time, this beauty of Tantra that still grabs me every time. And I think that's also what you said, that simplicity, like the embrace of everything, that is what Tantra is. And that's what just got me, because I was also looking for all these complicated things, all these big theories, big ideas. And then I got to Tantra and it suddenly was so simple. And I was like, I love this.
Yeah.
It was an embrace of everything and seeing everything as sacred. And that changed everything for me. So once I finished the training in Shakti Tantra, I knew that I wanted to share that with more people, because of the transformation I had gone through. That people would say that I'm a completely different person now. So I, through that and also through my own experience, knew like there's something here that more women should access. So then I started teaching courses, and that led to the temple school, because I wanted to create something that was slow and continuous, and yeah, like this reminder, continuous reminder, not just a deep dive, not just a big explosion, but a slow growing, a slow evolving through this continuous support. I realized that that's the only sustainable way to really grow for me and for many others. So that led me to create the school.
I love that. I love that story. And like Tantra has different modalities, like bodywork Tantra. And why did you choose Shakti Tantra? Or it just happened that you saw that course and you went into it?
I think it was that experience with a women's retreat that happened before I started my Tantra journey, where I realized I want to do something with only women. Because a lot of, like you said, the Tantra work is in big groups, a lot of engagement, a lot of mixed groups, a lot really focused on sexuality, and that wasn't it for me. I needed so much safety at that part of my journey, and being around women made me feel much safer. And the school that I joined was just for women. So I saw an ad of that on Facebook back in the day, and it was like all the other pieces were right. You know, the fact that it was for women, the fact that it was Tantra, it all connected.
Yeah, I get it. And I resonate so much with what you share, like the safe space, because I know I feel like lately I'm an advocate for safety. I speak so much about safety. It's so important for me and my journey. And I know that we share the same value on that, the safe space to bloom, to really open. I think for a woman is important. And
Yeah. A lot of Tantra spaces are quite harsh, they're quite intense. I see a lot of women go into spaces like that and coming out even more tense or confused, because it's actually not a safe space. You're being pushed too much. You're being thrown in too deep, or you're being shot up too high. And then you don't have the ground, the foundation to really, integrate. So that's what we need to build within ourselves first. That safety. Yeah. And I speak about safety also all the time, because keep coming back to it. It is the most important.
yeah.
It's the foundation of everything.
I feel that we, like throughout my journey in the temple school, and then I had this connection with the goddess of Mael and with Aphrodite, and I think by joining slowly started to develop, and then when I found out about also your goddess spirituality, I was so keen to ask you, was it part of the Shakti Tantra school or something that you chose to develop after?
It definitely got kickstarted by the Shakti Tantra, because the training I did was very much about embodying Shakti and all the phases of Shakti. So it was a year training where every time you looked at a different archetype, almost like a different part of Shakti. And through that, I developed parts of myself that were totally underdeveloped, or I embraced parts of myself that I always ignored, because suddenly I saw them not as a bad part of myself or something to, push away, but I started to see it as a expression of a goddess, as something sacred. For example, like my rage. I have a lot of rage in me, like a lot of fire, and I could suddenly see that as Kali, for example, or my sexuality could suddenly see that as Lalita, this goddess of erotic play. All these parts of being a woman that are shamed or hidden because of our cultural context were suddenly celebrated. We're suddenly seen as beautiful and as powerful. And that changed so much for me, because I could look at those parts of myself, of my psyche, but also of my body, and go like, wow, this is actually fucking beautiful. It's actually epic. You know, my bleed, my vulva, my body, my breasts, all of that was suddenly seen as sacred. I could suddenly see that as sacred because it is seen as sacred in that tradition. So that's like what you mentioned about looking at the hand and suddenly seeing the beauty of it. I could do that with my body. I could do that with my shadow. I could do that with all of me. So Shakti Tantra allowed for that mind shift on all parts of myself, where I could suddenly see everything as sacred, could suddenly embrace all of it. And that created that safety, because suddenly all of me was welcome. All of me was beautiful. When you try to only be parts of yourself, you create a lot of unsafety in your system, because you're constantly filtering, you're constantly controlling, you know, you cannot let yourself go or be free, because, you know, you have some filtering to do. But if you are like, no, this is me and all of it is beautiful, there's so much energy that opens up. And that's what Shakti Tantra did for me. That's what the goddess did for me.
I love that. And you know, for me also, it helped me with the definition also, like goddess, it sounded like a bit of woo-woo in the past, like goddess. It has a very light energy, this word into it, but it's when you bring it down to the earth and you really see that it's so grounded as well, and all those elements, that is not just a definition that a woman is maybe like a dreamy or soft or is only sensual, but then when you tap into their energy and then you start really relating with some qualities of goddesses that were worshipped, that were really worshipped as God, and why people were worshiping them, and what qualities they needed from them to reflect on themselves. And then you see that it's not just about beauty and about looking nice, or saying I'm a goddess, but really like embodying some qualities that you need in the present moment. And they really help, like what you said about Kali. I do it also. I do it all the time, like give me power. I need to feel supported right now, and I will call her. And
yeah, the goddess is not just a fairy. She's the bones and the soil and the blood and the emotion. In the Shakti Tantra tradition, Shakti, the feminine principle, is all energy and matter. And Shiva is just a space that holds it. So if you take that perspective, you suddenly see everything as beautiful and as sacred. All the physical parts that we can really judge or shame, you know, it is suddenly like, no, but that is also Shakti. So you cannot go like, I only like that one. I only like that part of existence. I only like that part of my body. Like, it doesn't work that way. If you take that perspective, it's all equally beautiful.
yeah.
And I think that's so important in today's world, where we're so selective with what we prefer and what we love, what parts of the human expression we want and which one we don't want. And Tantra says, no, everything, everything.
Is there a goddess that you wanted to explore first, or you felt an invitation to work with a specific goddess?
So in my training, the teacher would assign a goddess to each of us based on her like intuition, that she felt like sort of you're the priestess for, you know, you embody her energy. And I got assigned a goddess that I mentioned earlier called Lalita, who's a goddess of innocence, of erotic play, of beauty. And her energy is just, I love it. I've been connecting with her ever since. There's such a lightness and a sparkle to her. And she really taught me that sex and sexuality and the erotic is something so pure and something so sweet and something so playful. She really like reframed how I looked at all of that, because in my upbringing it was something, you know, icky and dangerous and complex, very confusing, very like, yeah, it had a lot of meanings. And she said, no, it's just playing. It's just playing. It's just enjoying. And that was so healing for me, to start seeing pleasure and sexuality as something innocent, as just enjoyment of my human body and of being alive, of my senses. It's, I think she overlaps with Aphrodite in that sense, that there is this unapologetic enjoyment of being alive, of being a woman, of having this body, you know, that it's like a gift to be able to feel everything and to make love. So that is the goddess I've been working with since then, and I definitely feel that at some level I am a priestess of her and bringing that energy to the world. It's a big part of my work, you know, helping women connect with their sexuality in a way that is sweet and soft and safe. And that's definitely coming from Lalita. Yeah.
And that playfulness, that childlike innocence, and that is, I think, is what exactly like drew me to your energy. That it doesn't have to be so heavy, it doesn't have to be so serious, it doesn't have to be traumatizing to your body. Like, it can be slow, and it can be the discovery of yourself first, and then like give that to the world, and make love to life, not just to one person. And
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. It's that it's I realize that sexual healing and inner child work are so interlinked, that awakening your sexuality is almost one-to-one with awakening your inner child, because she is such a inherently erotic creature, like our inner child. You know, we from birth are erotic, and then throughout life we learn that we're not. And when we travel back to that young part of us, we remember what she knew until she was made to forget. We remember, wait, this is not evil, this is not wrong. It's sweet and it's beautiful and it's something I can enjoy. So I see women remembering that, you know, by connecting with their inner child and letting their inner child teach them about the erotic. And that's a beautiful, surprising journey, because the last thing we associate with eroticism is our inner child. But it's her, she's the key.
Yeah. And just the curiosity of discovering your body all over again, for taking the mirror and looking at your vulva, or looking at your body as part of nature, and that this curiosity that is, it's so innocent to say, I want to fall in love with myself again. I want to, like, it's the first time. I want to touch my body. I want to discover what I want, what I like. I want to know what it feels like a yes to me and what it feels like a no. And it's so important for women to start noticing their yeses and their nos. Yeah. Just like setting this this foundation of self-exploration this way.
It's really about releasing all these layers that we put on ourselves, of past experiences, of meanings that we gathered from our culture, from our environment, and go back to the pure, real human experience that's underneath all of that. And that can take a really long time, because that layer is like kilometers high, you know, of baggage we carry, especially women, about their body, about their sexuality. So it's like digging away all of the programming so that you can come actually to the truth and be like, what do I actually love? What do I actually want? Yeah, and then you realize it's all there, you know, it's all there in your body.
Yeah. And that is what I love about the goddess energy is that everything is godly. Everything is godly. Your desires, your pleasure, and that is what goddess spirituality has helped me personally as well. And the patriarchal, I don't know, like the way we developed a society that is important maybe for women to start exploring the goddess spirituality as a reflection to themselves.
Yeah, we need examples to create ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what goddess spirituality does. It gives us archetypes that we can try on to expand our psyche, and there are perspectives on our body that we can try on to start to embrace those parts of us too. You know, if you grow up in a culture where there's none of that, how are you going to create yourself? That was a big part of my research, to go like, how is goddess spirituality helping women create a new identity and create a new relationship to themselves? How do they use the stories, the myths, the deities to relate to themselves in a new way? Because now suddenly there are stories about their rage, about their eros, about their aging, about their bodies. That it's almost like a key that opens a part of your brain that otherwise is not open. And I think that's been what has been happening to women in patriarchal or Western societies, that all of those parts of us were locked because there were never stories, there were never examples that made us relate to ourselves in a positive way. It was all the stories were layered in shame and in sin and in control. So how are you going to relate to yourself in a positive way if that's what you're taught? So goddess spirituality gives us alternatives that we can then create ourselves with. Yeah.
I love that. And there's also this quote that I read recently, and it was explaining how women are relating to each other and how relatable we are to each other, and that we get inspired from each other, and that can be maybe translated into jealousy, but actually is an inspiration that we cannot be what we don't see. And when we see another woman doing something, and we get inspired, and that is beautiful what you said about, because it's true that we have examples of being allowed to feel and express some emotions that were taken away from us, like sacred anger. Sacred rage was, I believe, was an emotion that women were a little bit reluctant to express. That is not very feminine emotion, or they will lose their sensuality if they express anger. But then coming back to the totality, and that everything that is you is valid, and it's not about genders anymore. It's about coming home to yourself and really appreciating and celebrating this human experience as it is, with all the emotions, without rejecting, and coming to that inner union inside.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like it's about becoming multidimensional instead of just one-dimensional.
Yeah.
Where the identity women were given and are still being given is so one-dimensional. It's so flat. It's so boxed and small. And we all try to squeeze ourselves into that box. Our psyche and our body and our energy, it all has to fit in this tiny mold. But it's got a spirituality that can say, no, it's way bigger than that, baby. All of this is also you. And then you go, oh my God, thank God. Because it's not fun squeezing yourself in that box. And we are collectively doing it. And I think social media is making it so much worse, forcing ourselves to fit and fit into a certain picture, look a certain way, be a certain way. So especially in this time, I think goddess spirituality is so important for women to say, don't fall for that trap. You're multidimensional. You're so much bigger than that.
I love that. I was going to ask you now, why do you think like it's important at this time and age to start connecting goddess archetypes this way, but you already answered.
Yeah, it's exactly that. It's I think social media is a new form of suppression, unlike any in the past. But maybe in many ways we are freer than before, but in other ways we are way more controlled than before, and we do it to ourselves. It's so subconscious how we control ourselves, and the comparison now is so strong, and the sort of the metrics of what is being liked, what people love, is in our face on the daily. So we check what kind of women are being celebrated, and then we're like, okay, so I have to look like that to be celebrated. So that's why we have to look to other cultures or other moments in the past. So like, what were they celebrating then? What was seen as feminine beauty then, or as feminine power then, instead of just a snapshot of now, because it's not good what we got now, in the popular culture.
Yeah, I so resonate with that, and I also believe that also back then it wasn't everything was perfect as it is in the like today. Not everything is like roses and flowers, but it's like taking the responsibility, each and every one of that authenticity, that path to coming back to ourselves, that will help at least to not take control of ourselves in this chaos, let's say, but to stand out, because there is only one of us in 8 billions of people, and that is so sad when we see that this repetition, this I have to be someone else, and especially for women, I have to be like her, I have to dress like her, but just really coming back to who are you. And I think for me it really helped me, that goddess spirituality, to really come back to myself and to come back to my roots. Because when I started trading back and say I feel the call to start, I always asked for help, for my guides. I always felt that I am guided, but to really like coming back to where I was born, the goddess here, Aphrodite, the island, because I was noticing that everyone outside my island was celebrating and were posing like Venus was celebrating the goddess, and nobody that was born here was doing so, because we have this tendency to look far away from us, to look to other cultures, to other like continents, to find something, that to find the spirituality. But for me it actually started when I looked back, when I traced back where I was born, like what connects me to my roots, how can I work with. And even if Aphrodite was not here, I'm sure I was going to find gold in my on my path of how I chose to come and how I was brought up. There is this God quality in everything, I feel. It's just it helps when, but there is this archetype that that you can read about, you can learn about, and you can somehow bring to your reality, imagine how it would be. Yeah.
Yeah, I think if you dig deep enough, you find the goddess everywhere.
Yeah.
She was everywhere. It just depends on the place, how deep in the past it is. I think where you are, it's still so tangible. It's still so felt. I think in Northern Europe, you have to dig a little deeper, or you look to other places to find it there. And through that, you get those pieces. You gather the pieces.
I wanted to ask you, like, if a woman, I also know what we had a class about connecting with the goddess. There is this question mark that what if I don't find her? Like, what is a simple way that I can start connecting with my goddess or any goddess, and without like overthinking or trying too much or start the research? What would you say is a simple way for a woman to feel a connection with a goddess, or let's say the divine essence within her?
I think I have two answers. One is to find a teacher that can guide you. For me, that was so important. because by myself I would never have been able to find the all this access to goddess information and goddess practice. So for me, it was crucial that I had a teacher and a school that I could join. So for any women starting, I would suggest like check you out, check me out, check a teacher out who's teaching about the goddess, and let yourself be guided. And the other way, which I think is a bit more advanced, is to find it in your body, to find ways where you drop in and you feel your body. And that can be anything. That can be dance, that can be sports, that can be meditation. What makes you feel connected to your body is what makes you feel connected to the goddess. What makes you feel connected to the physical in general is making you connected to the goddess. So some people find it in nature. They go into the mountains, into the forest, into the ocean. That's where they find the goddess. So the invitation then would be to go into nature and to see, can you connect with it as if you are connecting with the goddess, as if you are, merging with something sacred, as if you are receiving something beautiful. And most importantly, can you feel that you are a part of it, that you're not on the earth moving around, but you're off the earth, that you're part of it, that your body is a walking piece of earth. That perspective, I think, is we can always connect with that, but it's quite a leap from how we grow up and what we were taught. So that's why I say a teacher can be important if you just begin, because otherwise I think it's quite difficult to open that part of the brain. But yeah, that's my answer to anyone who is wanting to explore this.
I love what you said. And yeah, I wanted to share a little bit about softness, because I know the way you teach is all about being soft. And I wanted to share here that like there was a part of my journey that because I'm on a spiritual journey, let's say for 10 years, and I entered spaces where there was a lot of intense release of emotions and screaming, and then after experiencing softness, I feel I don't need that anymore. I don't need intensity. Is like making it intense to feel, in order to feel. But with softness, and what I experience is like it can be in a soft way, the way that we do everything, without meaning that we reject the intensity when it comes. But yeah, it doesn't have to be so strong and so like. And I know that you call temple school like the guidance back to softness. So I'm mentioning these because I would love for you to share why you believe in the soft root, let's say.
It's so interesting you say that. I was at a festival this weekend, like a spiritual festival, and it really seemed that it was all about the intense scream and loud deep dives, breaking open, that the more intensity and the more noise, the better. And I think it's so powerful what you said. It's like we need the intensity to feel anything. That's how disconnected we are. That we need to make it so big and so loud to feel it. And I think a friend of mine was saying about that festival also that it feels like if it's a big and loud and there's someone screaming, there's someone crying, then it's good. And I see it as such a clear product of our culture that's so extroverted and so loud and so many colors and things, and it's overstimulating that we become numb to the subtle and to the sensitive and to the quiet and the little things that we feel, the energy that's moving, the sensitivity of our senses. We need to really slow down and become sensitive to feel all of that. But in a world that is rushing, that's screaming, it's really difficult to experience life at that level. So you see that in those spiritual gatherings that are really based on loudness and bigness and intensity. I think, yeah, as Westerners, we relate to that because we're so used to the loud and the intense. And I think for me, softness became so big because I'm an introverted person and a highly sensitive person, as in I get exhausted if I'm in a place with a lot of sound, with a lot of light, with a lot of people. Like it's my nightmare if you put me in a cafe with a big group of people and there's music playing with also lights flashing. Like, no, that's my idea of the hell. Yeah. I can't.
I can so relate to that, and I feel so refreshed by hearing you say that, because a part of me feels that I am not fitting in, or I'm not part of the society, or there's something wrong with me, because I I can find beauty in like this conversation is so fulfilling and beautiful to me that it's enough. It's enough.
Yeah.
If it was more like, if it was music and lights here, I wouldn't be able to to cope or to be present. And at some point I said, but is this the way? But whenever I hear other people like admitting their sensitivity, it hits differently. I feel it.
Yeah. Because we feel as sensitive and quiet people that we have to defend that part of us the whole time, because the world is so supportive and celebratory towards big loud personalities, you know. Oh, she's so bubbly. Oh, she's so funny. Oh, she's so charming. And then as a quiet person, you feel like, oh wait, I have to be like her, I have to be like that person. And yeah, I think I definitely grew up with that culture of like, you have to be loud to be popular and all of that. So it took me a long time to embrace my introversion and my sensitivity as something powerful. I think that was actually a big part of my self-hate and of my insecurity, that I was fighting myself the whole time. I was fighting my sensitivity the whole time, and it was exhausting. And at one point, I was finally able to admit, I'm a quiet person. I'm a sensitive person. I prefer one-on-one conversations over a big group. I don't have to force myself to go out or to do that. I can say no. That's like only in the past like 5 years that I really, really claimed that, to really honor that truth, to embrace that silence. The book Quiet by Susan Cain also was big for me in that. That's highly recommended for anyone who relates. But I think all of these pieces led to me focusing on softness in my work, because I saw so many teachers who were those kind of personalities that I grew up looking at in admiration, and seeing them being so loud and so beautiful and so bright. And I don't want to say that there's anything wrong with that. It's a different expression. What I do want to say is that because I learned that they were better, I thought that how I am is wrong. And by seeing, no, it's just a different expression of the goddess. It's a different way of being that's equally beautiful, equally powerful. This is again that Tantra, right? That is saying everything is equally beautiful and equally powerful. There's no hierarchy. So that was me going, okay, how I am by nature is beautiful and is worth giving space to in the world, is worth communicating from, is worth creating spaces for. And I feel like the women I attract are feeling the same, this relief of, oh my God, I can be quiet, I can be soft, I can be slow, I don't have to do, I don't have to be all these things that I'm not. And yeah, that has become my mission, you know, to be the safe space for women to be soft, to be sensitive, to be themselves exactly as they are.
I love that.
Mm.
It's something that I really feel strongly, and coming closer to the essence of Aphrodite is that I keep hearing like, don't make me beautiful. I don't know how I translate it like that. It's just, it's not about the perfect smile or to be beautiful all the time. And there were moments when I was creating my website, and now I was thinking, oh, maybe I should put these Renaissance paintings of like a little bit artsy feeling, and to have these bodies there. And it was an immediate no, no, this is not the essence that I am here
Mm.
personally to give back. This is not the message. The message is everything, the totality, the ugly, the raw. And yeah, it just doesn't, it, for me, it doesn't let me, or I choose not to go to that route.
I think it's so beautiful, and I see that so clearly in people who try to be beautiful or try to just have beauty or be beautiful, create a beautiful thing without embracing the ugly, that it doesn't actually feel beautiful. You know, you can see it's beautiful, and like on a mind level, it's like, yeah, it's beautiful. Same with people, you see them, they're beautiful. But if there is that layer missing, there's something off about that. There's something that feels shallow or empty. And that was so beautiful for me to realize that a person who is ugly in the traditional sense, but fully embraces themselves, who fully say, this is me. They are so
Yes.
beautiful. They are so
Yes.
radiant. They're so much more beautiful than the most beautiful person in the world who hates themselves, who is empty, who is disconnected. Like, for me, that's not beauty.
That is so true. And it's like having, everything is duality, right? Like having Shiva, Shakti, black, white, yin and yang, and the same um, with beauty. That cannot exist without the ugliness. It's like the spectrum of how deep you can go in your ownness, in your
Mm.
real.
Yeah, I wish this was the kind of beauty that women were chasing collectively in the world. Not the beauty that is aesthetic and that is like a surface level, but the beauty of a full embrace, the beauty of a full embodiment. That's the beauty I want women to chase. And that comes back to that conversation about why it's so important in the world right now to have this goddess spirituality. It's because of that we are chasing that beauty, that's that superficiality, and goddess the goddess perspective is saying, no, chase all of it, become all of it. That's when you're beautiful. That's when you're your most beautiful. Yeah, that's what I wish we would all, seek.
Aho. Yeah, I would love for you to share a little bit about Temple that is opening the doors at the end of March. I'm
Mm.
so excited. I'm so excited, and I'm so happy to be part of the Temple teacher team this round.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm so excited. I'm going to teach sensual awakening and some ancient rituals that come from me studying what was going on in the temples. And yeah, I'm looking forward to bring that essence back with a lot of safety and a lot of softness in the temple school.
Mm.
So, but yeah, I would love for you to share about this space that I've been
Mm.
talking, like I've been talking to everyone about lately.
Yeah, the Temple School is an online school for women's healing and women's empowerment with daily classes. So there's always a class happening that you can join or you can watch the replay, and all the content is focused on softening and opening. So there are classes like coming together in ceremony. There are singing circles. There are archetypal embodiment journeys. And then there's you teaching sensual awakening, goddess rituals. And then there's me teaching Shakti Tantra. And then there's classes in self-love and softness. And we'll also have some more dance this round that I'm really excited about, some seductive dance, some like nature embodiment dance. So the whole school is really like a playground for women to come and grow and open and feel. And doing that together, this journey can feel really lonely and quite isolating. And in temple, you have this sisterhood that you do it with. So we walk side by side on this path. So there is a sharing space also where you can share what's going on with you. You can ask for advice. There are also more community sort of gatherings this round for women to share like what's going on in their life, to be together. So yeah, it's such a sacred place that I wish I had, you know, when I was young, and to receive all of that goodness and all of that support from a team of women who is so grounded and rooted in their method. It's like this wide spectrum of all flavors of the feminine that's being presented by all these teachers that you can then tap into and grow into yourself. So yeah, that's temple.
I'm so excited. How did you come up with this idea? Was it a personal need to have an online space that maybe you wish for yourself? I wish there was something accessible, maybe from my home, something that I know that a community that I know will be there if I decide to join them, because there are also replays that you can join after, or you can join live. But yeah, I was just wondering, how did you come up with this, with the idea of the temple school?
It's quite a funny story because it was a few years ago that I was sitting at a silent retreat. I think it was like a 10-day silent retreat, and it was like day 4 or 5 where I was meditating. You know, at one point you get into some deep states. And as I was sitting, it just came like a spark, like a instant, like in 1 second, the whole school was there in my brain. It was like dropped into my being. Like, this is what you're gonna make. And I was like, okay, I guess this is what I'm making. I saw it. I saw it has to be a school for women, by women, to come, to heal, to grow together, with daily classes, with community spaces, with all of that. And ever since that moment, I've been building towards this. I've been building towards what it is now. And it's only in March where it really takes the form that I saw those years ago. It's been shape-shifting ever since, growing and changing form. But now it's really arriving in the form that I received it in. So that's really exciting. And I think everything I create comes from a need of like, what would I want? What would I love to see in the world? I think that's how we should all create and share, you know? What are the missing pieces and how can I bring them? So it's a combination of those things. But it's really feeling like a sacred entity that sort of showed itself to me.
You.
Yeah. It was like,
Yeah.
you go make me. And I was like, okay. I guess so. It's like temple already was there and just needed to be manifested. And that's been sort of, I feel like I'm the humble sort of servant of temple, birthing it into the world.
I love that. Yeah. You remind me of when I was sitting also in the 10-day silent retreat, and then actually maybe on the 4th, 5th day there was a book that came to me. I never wanted to write a book. I am just so bored to start. Like, I love journaling, and in the temple we have some exercise when we journal and we express, but there was this book that really, chapter 1, and there were 9 chapters. All the chapters were revealed to me. And I said,
what?
I don't know if I want to write a book, but I have it ready in the back of my mind. Maybe like you inspired me right now. Maybe
Oh my gosh.
maybe I should start it.
Isn't that insane?
Yeah.
I've been playing around with this lately, to sit down and ask for what wants to come. And then a class or an idea just comes in less than a second, perfectly done, complete.
Yes.
And you're like, what? It's handed to you on a golden platter, like, here you go.
Yeah.
There's an idea.
Yeah.
And it's so sacred.
Yeah. And this is how I deliver also in my work, and this is how I'm looking forward to deliver in temple. And this the tapping into what is needed, and then like delivering something pure, authentic, and that only you can give to this world.
Yeah. Love that. Love that.
Thank you so much for being here with me, for having this conversation, and I wish you all the best. And I'll see you inside the temple, like we always
Yes.
say.
I'll see you inside the temple.
Mm-hmm.